Hello, and welcome to the $1 Million Electrician Podcast, where we help home service pros like you supercharge your business and spark up those sales.
I'm Joseph Lucani, and together with my co-host, Clay Newmeyer, we're here to share the secrets that have helped electricians sell over $1 million from a single service van.
Now, it's time for sales. It's time for scale. It's time to become $1 million electrician. Hello, and welcome back to the show. Joe, I am excited for this week. I don't want to say more than ever, because last week we did the interview with Josh, and that was a great time. We've got another interview actually in the chamber. Can't wait to let that one fire off. But this week we've got a great big topic, and I love nothing more, and I'm sure you too, than helping people through what may be the most awkward part of their entire process, the actual presentation of what it is they're offering their clients. How important is this to you, brother?
I mean, this is absolutely key. Because if you think about everything that led up to this moment, you've marketed the lead, you've gone to the call, you've trained your staff to take the call, you've trained your staff to go and physically do it, you're running the call, you've built the options, you've designed them, and now at this one pivotal moment, you're sitting on the crux of the fulcrum. And all that effort could either be wasted because you can't close it, or it's massively returned and rewarded because you were able to communicate your value in a way that made sense. So is this important? This is the most important thing you can do if you've already done all the previous steps.
Of course, we're talking about right person, right place, right time.
Bingo.
You know how everyone knows this expression? Maybe an old girlfriend said this to you at one point. It's not you, it's me.
That hits me in the feels.
You are Mr. Right. You're just not Mr. Right now. Is there anything worse than being Mr. Not Right Now? Because what does that actually mean, Joe, in your mind?
I mean, I may take that a little more personally. When someone says Mr. Right, but not Mr. Right Now, I'm like, oh, so I'm a placeholder to you? Like, am I not valuable? Am I not important right now? Is this not what you see? So I almost feel like devalued and deprioritized, and it affects the relationship, whether it's a professional relationship or a personal relationship.
And you kind of nailed it in saying devalued. If we actually structured ourselves and our value accordingly, could we be Mr. Right Now? That's the big question we aim to solve today. And I hope you'll help us through it, brother.
100%, man. The benefit of it being Mr. Right Now is, as we mentioned, I need the right people to hear my presentation. I need to be in the right time for them to hear the presentation. And we've got to be in the right place. And I'd love to dive into that further, but lastly, let's set it up. Let's make it happen.
Of course. Okay, guys. So as you can tell, big episode here today. Here's why you might want to stick through till the end of this one. Not only are we talking about right people, right place, right time, and giving you some secrets in that, but also want to let you know that that's just one of 8 presentation principles that we actually teach, and something we've never given away before. Never in the history of all of our marketing and all of our value giveaways have we ever given the full guide to our 8 presentation secrets. And this week, at the end of this, we're going to give you the keyword to be able to reach out to us and the place to reach out with us and actually get that guide delivered in your inbox so that you can have these principles and start being Mr. Right and Mr. Right Now and for the right people every day going forward. How does that sound, Joe?
I'm so pumped. It's one of those moments where like we're asking myself, like, are we crazy or like are we giving away too much? But at the same time, I'd rather give good information into the hands of people who actually use it.
If you're listening to us and wondering, are these guys crazy? Are they giving away too much? Just like Joe said, let us remind you of why this is the way it is. We were once in your shoes with no support, and the support you do see, it seems like everyone else is wearing a different team shirt, and everyone else, I mean, is like plumbers, HVAC, heck, garage door, and Tommy, and everyone else that they're doing their thing, but no one was just helping electricians. And we give it all away because we want you to be able to succeed. That's our Scout's honor. We want this to be life-changing. In any way that you can take our philosophies, our business strategies, and our processes and make them work for you, we're absolutely not just okay with, we're advocates for. You've got your biggest cheerleaders here once a week to join you and give you praise. So share your wins, let us know. But if at any point you need help with implementation, of course, let us know that too, because that's what we do. That's what we do full time. It's help electricians just like you master things like what we're talking about today, so that you can take the ceiling off of this thing and just blow it up to the next level.
So pumped. Let's do it.
All right, man. We've got some wins of the week and a couple of them tie directly into this. So why don't we jump into it that way? I'll start with a more generic one, but exciting nonetheless. And then let's dive into maybe Raf's and then your experience and tie it right into right people, right place, right time. How's that sound?
Perfect. I'm down.
Okay, very cool. So one of my favorite wins of this week is actually one of our brand new clients, Tarek, and he came in hot and heavy. And I don't know, like maybe it's people are studying us before they join, and maybe Tarek's one of these cases, but like it seems that the time to action is reducing. And so the time to wins, especially more recently in our program, is reducing also, because we're seeing more wins in the first couple of weeks that justify people's investment in our program in the first place. Like Tarek here, who said, listen, he can't wipe the smile off his face. His client wanted to talk it over, make a decision, et cetera, but they ended up offering 6 options, looks like. And the client was between a silver or a bronze, 14.5 to 11K, somewhere in the middle there. He says, before SLE, I would have charged maybe 4 to 6K for the same work. So huge increase, like double digit increase here, about 10K higher. There's still clients pretty much in the bag here. And on top of that, he then says, there's something about SLE that feels like I've got the cheat codes to business. And he throws one of these emojis in the chat with the finger up to the lips. Absolutely love it, man. I can't wait to hear how that sale ends up landing, Tarek. Great job to you, brother. How about Raf?
Raf's got a special place in my heart. I mean, Raf, I know you're listening to this at one point. I have so much love and respect for you, bro. Even if you're not the one to give yourself a pat on the back, we are going to pat you on the back for you. So the thing that comes into play, I want to tie in what happens and why we're bringing up his particular situation. Is that cool?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
So the 3 things is right place, right people, right time. So let's start with right place. Now, ideally, the thing is that he went to this call and there was only one person there, right? And the thing additionally was that English was not their first language. Now, luckily for Raf, he has the ability of speaking the preferred language. So he was able to first build that rapport and bond by being able to communicate in a way that made this customer feel very comfortable. So rapport immediately went very, very high. Because rapport was high, she allowed him further into the home. That way they were able to really sit at the table and start connecting when the walls were coming down.
Really got that Mr. Right feel to it so far, doesn't it?
It does. So it's almost like the thought process of saying, I was meant to help this customer. The thing is when he got into the right place, what that means is there's a whole positionary to where you want to be. You want to be side by side with the customer and ideally in the kitchen. The reason why we want to be on a side-by-side basis is, let's say you're looking at the presentation in front of you. Like, let's just do a quick visual. If I'm opposed to you, so it's like me, then presentation, then you, and we're facing each other. When you look at the embodiment of the problem, which is the presentation, who are you also looking at?
The person across, looking at you, Joe, looking at Raf in this case.
Exactly. So by being side by side, we're on the same side of the line. We're on their team, both looking at the problem together, shoulder to shoulder. So he got on the right side of the line, which is the right thing to do. Secondly, he wanted to go into the right place. He was at the kitchen table, able to really sit and bond with him in a place that made sense. But now here's where the curveball happens. She liked him. She liked his presentation, but the engineer's son-in-law needed to come involved, right?
Ugh.
The dark night kind of reigning in where everyone's like, wah, 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 wah. All right, engineer's coming to visit. He could have just emailed it over. And that was actually what originally they requested.
Yeah.
But instead, he offered to make sure that the son was able to join in with the presentation so he could hear directly what they wanted to do and be able to make a better, more informed decision for the mother. So he got, I believe the son was able to be on the phone or on a Zoom presentation where they were there because he wasn't able to physically be present, but he was able to now talk to the mother, explain his solutions to the son, all within the confinement of being in their kitchen on the same side of the line looking at the presentation. And the end result was this. She ended up, I think it was a $25,000 job that she took. But the thing was, she didn't have the money at the time. Now, technically, you don't have the money. What normally happens? We'll get back to you.
Yep.
Or we're going to talk about it amongst themselves. But because he had become the right person and was seen as a trusted member of the family, they were able to discuss finances in front of him and with him and asking him for advice along the way. So much so that they all three drove to the bank and Braff met them there and was able to collect his 50% deposit once he was able to make a withdrawal from it.
It's massive.
It's absolutely huge. It's insane to think about. If you remove one piece of this puzzle, the entire house of cards falls apart.
Yeah.
Can I touch on that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So let's say you had the right place. I'm inside the kitchen. I'm looking at the presentation. I'm side by side with the customer. I'm speaking the preferred language. Great. But the son-in-law isn't able to be present.
Mm.
Not all the right people are here, which means that the mother may love what you've done. She may truly feel this is the best fit for her, and it may be the best fit for her. But this son doesn't know that. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know your presentation. All he sees is a big number, says, Mom, you got to get estimates. So without the right people, it falls apart.
Yep.
Right place. Let's say he has the son and he has the mother, but they're all over the phone or they're over email or he's doing a text chain with them. You're less likely to have the ability of taking action because he wouldn't have been able to hear them discuss the finances in front of them. And he wouldn't have been able to guide them in a way of making this an affordable solution. So without the right place, this falls apart.
It's no longer the right time.
Now, the right time is even more specific because this person needed to have this problem addressed, but it wasn't so dire that it had to be done right now. What he was able to do was explain through our process that there's a time frame to the things that are expected and that you can do this in this time, but if you do, you can expect these things to follow if the actions aren't taken. And because he was able to explain the long-term repercussions of doing what's happening from a logical, educated, non-pushy perspective, they were able to recognize that now is the right time. You're right, Raf. We shouldn't wait for this to fester. We shouldn't wait for this to continue going on. So he established that now was the right time. He had all the decision makers present, and they were all visually accessible.
Can I throw a challenge, a curveball in this, and
Please.
and let's just like beat this up again, because every once in a while someone might say, "Well, is that ethical?"
I love those questions. I literally stopped.
If you could see the video, we just stopped Joe from taking a swig of coffee here in the studio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's one of those things where, how to say this the right way?
Can I pose it one more time?
Yeah. Sure, because
if we're actually saying that, hey, there's an alternate, a parallel existence where we didn't do a couple of these things, and those things that we did caused someone else to change how they acted. Does that mean that we've now caused them to do something they didn't want to do?
You know, I love the ethics question. And the reason being is because when I've designed this process, ethics was one of the top things in my mind because we were being told at $165 an hour, like that is dirt cheap. We were told how expensive we were at the time. And for my personal and my spiritual beliefs, and honesty and integrity is paramount. I cannot be me without those two things. So to any question of whether this is ethical, I'd like to hit it from every possible angle. Can I discuss the situation? Okay. So let's say you remove any one of these factors, and I could say by removing this actually makes it unethical, rather than doing it makes it unethical. So let's remove one of these situations.
All right.
First, let's start with removing the right people. I believe with enough closing skill and tactics, you could move someone to make a decision if they're not in the right place to do so. Not advocating for it, but I'm acknowledging that there are salespeople good enough to do those things.
Yeah.
So let's say that Raf shows up and he's able to speak the preferred language and can recognize that now is the right time and recognizes that they are doing the right tactics. They're facing the right position, same side of the line, looking at the presentation, but doesn't get the son-in-law involved because he's trying to close the sale.
Yeah.
That's possible, right?
Yeah.
But the downside of doing so is you've not only reduced the ability for this customer to trust you long term, but you're now creating a wedge between them and their family. Because if you've done your job properly, you've removed buyer's remorse. So now, in that case, you have a customer with no buyer's remorse arguing with a family member who has no idea who we are. And he's like, Mom, why the F did you give $25,000 to this guy without talking to me? Like, that's a big red flag, right? He came
Not
in,
good.
you never met this guy, I've never talked to him, and now suddenly you're going and taking withdrawal out of your IRA?
Yeah.
Like, what? So I see that as super unethical, especially with the elderly, or if someone has like an intellectual disability or something along those lines. You need to make sure that everyone's there so you're never appearing like you're taking advantage of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So without the right people, it becomes unethical. Go ahead.
Can I insert something there and just get clarity?
Sure.
So are you saying that, and this is what I'm hearing in another perspective, that if we don't find out if there's anyone else involved in making decisions in the home,
Mm-hmm.
and if we aren't actually equipped to handle that evolution of a process,
Mm-hmm.
that would be unethical.
Correct. And we have two different opportunities in our presentation process. One is when we're at the panel and we're learning if there's other people who are involved in this. And then we have the now or later step where we're confirming whether there's anyone else that they'd want at this point to be present. So we've given them multiple opportunities to veto if they wanted someone present. And you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love going deep on this because most people see this as the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you're pitching it makes it so this isn't an objection that we handle. It's a necessity in the process.
The way I look at it is I know where I want to go when I pass away, and I'm going to be actionable for my actions. And the money that I make now doing an unethical sale is going to affect me long term. So I take ethics extremely seriously, and I would not do something that I felt would compromise those values because the end result is far greater than what I could gain right now.
Really powerful, man. Really powerful.
Awesome.
Did I take you too far off track to continue?
No, I'm ready to fucking roll.
All right, let's keep
I'm
going.
good. All right.
Let's hit it.
So the next is right time, right? Occasionally, you're going to find customers that are shopping, where they're not ready right now. The problem is that sometimes when we're slow or when we need the influx of cash or when we feel that we could coerce this direction, there are some salespeople that try to push for the right now sale. Now, the problem with that is maybe they don't have the funds. Maybe this wasn't the right time for them. Maybe they would have saved money if they did it after the big renovation they were planning. Like, we don't know. But respecting the customer's time and acknowledging when they want to bring this to a conclusion is very important. We cannot influence the decision one way or the other. When they want to bring it to a conclusion, then they'll hear the price. We're not going to throw numbers at them to try to entice them to take a sooner action. I'll only convey numbers when they've convinced me that I'm the person they want to work with. So ethics come into place here too. When they're ready, now granted, disclaimer, if they are uneducated and there is a safety risk that they are not aware of, that is a different situation. This is I want a project and I'm an educated person and I know now is not the right time, then that's not my place to push you. So simply by removing the time aspect, that becomes more unethical. Checks there too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we could go deeper in some hows.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm ready.
So if it's unethical to try to change their mind about when is the right time, then how is it that we're causing a sales process to speed up sales?
The reason being is because what we're doing is we're educating them along the process of the things that they stand to gain and also the emotional benefits that someone receives by doing these things. I want to find why they're doing it, not just what they want to do. When I know their why, I can speak to when they want to have that particular feeling or place or accomplishment brought to a conclusion. If I say, well, I really want to be able to enjoy this pool, Okay, well, when were you hoping to have that pool taken care of? Well, man, I really wanted that done before May. We're hosting. Okay, well, now I know in my head it's October. If I gave you a price right now, it would be unethical because by time May comes, price has gone up, material has gone up, my availability has changed. I've given you a number only to come back and switch it. That's not ethical doing a bait and switch, right?
It
I
feels
got
like a
you.
rhetorical question. I'm just over here chuckling.
Yeah, it's like I got you. So the last thing then comes down to the right physical place, right? So if we have acknowledged that we're not pushing the customer to do something when it's not right for them, and we're acknowledging that we're not giving them a price unless we know all the proper decision makers are present, it now comes down to the right place. Now, we choose the inside of the home for a particular reason. I personally, like, if you're giving me like the perfect setup, I am at the kitchen table, I am side by side with the customer, and my presentation is directly in front of me. Now, there's a lot of emotional factors of why we choose the kitchen table, but for this particular example, the reason why is it is the safest place for this customer to open up and explore why they want to do the things they do. You don't invite a stranger to the table, but at the same time, it's their most comfortable space. I've put them in their castle, in a place that they're most comfortable with, where they feel all the control. If I were to remove that and make this a phone presentation or a Zoom presentation, or I met outside and like a meet me at my office kind of thing, their power is lost. And when someone loses a sense of control, they often act out. No different than you would if as a child. I don't feel control of this situation, so I'm going to knock something over. Well, when people don't feel in control, the objections that normally would be small become much larger. Can you email it over? Happy to help. Which one do you want? And then they blow up and they're like, I want them all. Why? Because they don't have control and they're trying to take it where they can. So it's more ethical presenting them when they're in a place of power so that there's no buyer's remorse and there's no feelings of coercion. So without the right place, without the right people, and without the right time, there's something going to be missing from a perfect sale.
Nicely done. Let me ask you something else then.
Sure.
Have you ever, in your process, in our process, made an attempt to remove buyer's remorse? Like there's a specific question I believe we've gone over before to really lock it in and make sure this is what they want. Have you ever had someone then downgrade because of that step?
Yes. I can remember a specific moment and it actually saved my ass in a huge way. So one thing that particularly comes to mind was we were working with a bed and breakfast and we had created a wide range of options. Like I think the top one was like plus 35,000 or something like that. And they loved that top option. They were like, that's the one we want. Let's get that one done. Let's make it happen. It included multiple Tesla chargers and like a full redevice and new pat, like everything. And I was like, well, hey, just so you're aware, we did have cheaper options. We did have more economical options. Do you want to hear about those? And the spouse, the husband and the daughter, they were like high-fiving and they loving it. The moment I said, just so you know, they were cheaper options, the wife, like the mother, her eyes perked up. She's like, oh, there are? What are they? And I started describing the second option. I was like, take a look. So we actually looked at the second option, which I think was like $26,000. And it removed some of the Tesla chargers. Instead of having like five, it went to like we have one and then one universal. And we're doing the redevice, but we're ignoring this particular section. And she said, I want to do that one. And the thing was, is I remember at the moment feeling like, damn, I just lost $9,000. But the perspective is this. She was uncomfortable with the price. Based on the scenario that was happening, every single person was telling her that this was the decision to do, but she still wasn't sold. So what would have likely happened when I left? They
Wasn't
would have
going to
been
go
gone.
good. They were going to
Yeah.
call back.
Hey, do you mind sending me a breakdown of this? Hey, do you mind sending me the other options? Hey, can you hold on depositing the check? The time to lose the sale is when you're there. Don't half close it only to get it rejected when you get back to the shop. Close it all the way right now. And that means letting them know there is another option. And she took the $26,000 option. And the win that I look from it now is I would have thought I got this big job. I would have done the work order. I would have started designing it. I would have high-fived my team. We would have all celebrated. I would have gone out for dinner, only to find out that maybe 8 hours later, they're canceling the job completely to get more quotes. So you need to have the buyer's remorse removed because one, it's going to lose a job that you might have already had. But two, it gives them a more ethical way of declining an offer they may not otherwise have done.
I love the way you laid that out. And I just want to remind everyone, and if you're listening to this, then this is probably your experience too, is that when we just tested that theory and really thought through that, when someone calls you back in 2024, coming into 2025, most often it's not even a phone call.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's text.
Most often it's a text or an email. And then we sit there and we go, oh shit, I just lost a $40,000, $30,000, $20,000 platinum that we already celebrated. And it feels like falling off a cliff. And then the next question we all have is, how the hell are we going to respond to this to save this sale?
And the time to have responded to it is not this moment. Like, that's the thing. It's a sales process, but it's built on the ethical transaction. I want to know that if they have any issues, now is the time to tell me. Let me understand it now, because if there is, I can design solutions. We have 5 other solutions than the one you've picked. We don't have to go with this one. We can go with whatever one you feel comfortable with. Because as long as they choose us, we're winning, and they're winning too.
Win, win. I love that, man. Great share. And if you guys are having any amount of struggle with this in your service already, you're not alone. How many of us have faced this? Joe, you faced this for, well, almost a decade before perfecting it to what it is today. And I shouldn't even use the word perfect, because there's always work to do on your sales process based on the data that you guys are seeing out there. But if something such as this value piece, this guide we're giving away today, could shortcut you and get you through 1, 2, even maybe 3 to 5 years. Adam just said to me in a class the other day, he says, honestly, it's been 1 year with you guys. It feels like we've fast forwarded 10. If it could save you that time to just take the guidance, take the free value piece and go and put this to work in your business so your customers could start seeing you at a higher value, seeing less remorse, knowing that you are Mr. Right now, and this is the right place for it. If you could know that with certainty, that you were doing your best and consistently putting your best foot forward, then couldn't we all spend a little less time looking backwards at what the hell just happened and thinking forwards about the next lead to go and serve at the right place, being the right people at the right time?
Couldn't agree more, bro. Couldn't agree more.
All right. So if you guys want the guide, one of the best places to get this is on our Facebook group, $1 Million Electrician. If you're not already a member there, go ahead, jump on Facebook and join us. If you're not on Facebook, you can always leave us a review where you heard us first. Maybe you're one of our Spotify fans or listening through the iTunes and the podcast there, or maybe you're following on YouTube. We've got a couple of 100 subscribers there. If you follow on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and then leave this comment with this keyword to get this value piece, #ResiPrezi. We had to make it rhyme. We had to go with it, making Joe laugh with that one today.
I love that.
If you send us that keyword, whether it's through our website, by email, through Instagram, Facebook, or Facebook group, on any of the posts where you see it, we're going to send you that value piece so that we can help you get some more traction in your sales. Joe, is there anything else you wanted to bring to this podcast today on this topic, brother?
You know, the only thing that I'd want to add is that I love the fact that the ethic comes up, because it's something that's so defendable and it means so much to do it the right way, because people are afraid of sales processes. And I just want to say that they're afraid for good reason, because sometimes when used in the wrong hands, good skills can be used for bad things. So for anyone who wants to use this process, I just want to make the disclaimer that use our skills for good. They're going to work whether you use it for good or not. But I want to encourage you to use it for good, because that is what makes a better world.
Absolutely. 100% agree. You got to promise not to use it for evil, and you got to promise to use it. We'll see you guys again next week.
Take care. Be blessed.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the $1 Million Electrician podcast.
We hope you're buzzing with new ideas that charge up to take your business to the next level.
So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with fellow electricians. Together, we'll keep the current flowing.